see you and have you here. Let's get started. Danny Farley, you got our invitation pledge?
I do. Before I start, I just want to remind everybody, pray for me because we have 4 kids in school, 3 of them in college this fall. Okay. Father, thank you for all the great people whom we gather each Thursday morning, whose large capacity of love and concern for our community, nation, and world makes it look easy to do your work. Please watch over the survivors and family members of those lost in the Genoa, Italy bridge collapse this week. Again, please help us prepare us for the roles we play in society and bless this delicious food to our use and those taking part in preparing it. In your name we pray. Okay. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Four-way test.
Thanks.
All of the
Thanks, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned.
There we go.
I will gladly do so. Good morning, Gate City. So we have 41 members in attendance today, and I did notice a couple of happy red badges turned to white badge, and that's a little initiative we're trying to push. So if you're still wearing a red badge and you haven't done everything, check with Lisa and figure out what you have to do, or your sponsor, and see what you have to do. And then bug Steve for a while, and the white badge will show up. That's just how it happens. So, we also have a guest Rotarian today from Greensburg Club, Carl Ashby. Welcome, Carl. And then we have five very special guests today. Guy has a guest. I'll let him introduce.
This is Simon Cloutier, good friend of mine. Lots of people who do endurance athletics will have a lot in common with Simon. So introduce yourself and say hi to him.
Howard has a very special guest today.
Brought my daughter today on her own volition. She volunteered to come. So we're 1 for 2 here. So currently Parker is my favorite daughter. That is here today.
Ralph Jones brought some sunshine with him today.
He sure did. My wife, Wendy Jones, the First Lady of 2018.
We also have 2 other guests, and Ralph, you may want to be involved and introduce them, but we have Kimberly Marriott, and then our speaker, Lucy Wellmaker.
Yeah, I'll introduce Lucy, but Kimberly is looking for a Rotary home. From what I heard through an email that Lucy had sent out, I don't know if I forwarded an email to the club, her announcement that she did on LinkedIn, I think. So we saw Kimberly's name on there, so I was like, yes, absolutely, bring her. So thanks for being here, Kimberly. Good.
Rick, this day in history, do we have any special dates to recognize?
Well, do we ever? We've got a bunch of them today. We've got some birthdays this week. Jim Kennedy is here today. No? And how about Brian Kaiser? There we go. Brian's got one on the 17th. Happy birthday, yeah. And Ralph Jones on the 18th. All right. We have 3 that are all going to have birthdays on the 13th. The only time of the year we have 3 on the same day. And we have Dale Farlow. Saw Dale? No, he's not. I didn't see Dale. Kelly Harrell. Yeah. Shoot. And Ross Geller. Gee whiz. Yeah, all 3 of them on the 13th.
They have a lot in common.
So, none of them here. Okay, wedding anniversary. Let's see. How about Steve Works? Nobody's showing up today. And Rusty Hoffman. No, missing that. I know we got Dr. Sears, I saw him. Yes, sir, on the 20th of August.
52 years.
Big day today, club anniversaries, Tom Richardson,
He is in Kentucky, taking Meredith to school.
all right, and John Nossick. Either one of those guys here, they both on the same day, they have 5 years with the club. So, big day today for anniversaries. If they only would have been here to celebrate with us.
That's important. Attendance is very important. We're going to do an induction today, but we are going to postpone it until next week. We have a new member induction, so we'll hold on that. How about a lightning round of Family Feud? Let's do that.
Hey, it's time to play the feud! Let's do it! Who's ready to play the feud? What everybody doing?
Pinch up the man. We've got it.
All right, so it occurred to me while I was sitting over there that the front table just said they feel like they have the immunity idol, and we're just not going to let that happen anymore. So we've got Mrs. Jones over here. I think she's going to lead the Jones family. Who's going? Mr. Marcotte, you love this game. You love this game like no other. It's the Marcotte family. Jones versus Marcotte. All right, we got 6 in. Calm down, Dennis. It's all right. Just wait a second. You have seen the feud before, right? Just wait a minute. You're the second family. Jones family's going to go first. All right, you guys be ready to steal. All right, we got top 6 answers on the board. Top 6 answers on the board. Name an animal you might find in the desert. Animal you might find in the desert. All right, Kira. Number 1 answer. All right, Jones family.
I know it's surprising you, but you've watched a lot of cartoons. I would say a road runner. I've seen road runners.
Yeah.
You're going with the road runner.
I'm sticking with it.
All right, Looney Tunes is going with the road runner. You got 2 strikes left, Jones family. Steve, what do we got?
Leave it around.
A snake. Ding, 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 ding. That was number 2 answer. Good job. All right, we've got 4 answers left on the board. 1 strike.
I'm going to go with lizard.
All right, going with the little lizard. Number 3 answer. All right, you got 3 more answers on the board. 2 strikes left.
Is an armadillo in the desert?
Now, the way this game works, it's not what is it. Yeah, we're not on that game show. We're on the feud. You tell me an answer, and then I see if it's on the board. Going with the armadillo. Ding, ding, ding. All right, we got 2 left. 2 left.
We'll have to come back to round.
3, 2, 1.
Cat.
So we're going to see if the cat is chasing the roadrunner. All right, we got 1 strike left. 2 answers left on the board.
Back to Luke, I might have to say a coyote.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, you got 1 answer left. 1 answer left. Can you sweep it? It's all on you. 1 strike left. 1 answer left.
A horny toad.
Yeah.
He went with the horny toad.
There's no water in it.
We'll go going with the old desert frog.
That's why
All right, Marcotte family, you got a chance to steal. I need one answer. All right, what do we got, Marcotte family?
Scorpion.
There you go.
I'm going with the scorpion.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ooh, good one.
Thanks for playing.
Chris, thank you. I never knew a scorpion was a desert animal. Okay, I got a couple announcements. I'll start first. Do any of you, hang on. Okay, quiet. Okay. Do any of the board chair people have announcements this morning? This is your time.
Real quick, David Lillard, stand up, David. Just doff your hat. We've got an Instagram page for Gate City Rotary, so anybody that's on Instagram, it's all one word, Gate City Rotary, right, David?
Yep, that's it.
And if you're on Instagram, it's pretty cool. It's like better than Facebook, and everybody's going there now. So at least your kids are, your grandkids. So thank you, David.
David, thank you so much for that.
We're gonna need
We
a
have now.
I was about to say, maybe I should stand up.
yeah, we're gonna need a presentation.
Couple other announcements. Is Lisa on this morning? I don't see her. Just to wet your whistle, we're going to have a get-to-know Rotary opportunity to invite prospective members and a fellowship at Mark Luttrell's house in September. I'm just tipping my hat a little bit on that there. We'll get some more details out as we get closer. That'll be September 12th in lieu of our Thursday morning meeting. Also, in the next month or 6 weeks, I'm going to invite Phil Morris to come over and do a really short overview of the DAC DB. I know I've had questions on how do I find people's phone number. I want to email someone in the club, or I know this person, I know what they look like, I don't know their name. How do I figure out? So if you get on DAC DB, and it's really easy to get onto, you can get all these answers. It's a great resource. So I'm going to invite Phil Morris. We'll do a really short, like a 15-minute overview, show you how to sign on, and then how to look up a couple of those things. And we'll do that in the next probably 6 weeks coming up. Rush, Rotarians United to Stop Hunger. You've heard about Rush. I will need to appoint somebody in the next probably 4 to 6 weeks to be the Rush chairman. If there's someone that's looking for an opportunity to serve, it'll be a perfect opportunity. The load is not heavy. It's an easy assignment for the year, and I'll be eternally grateful to you for that. We talked about the Instagram account. I so appreciate that, David. And Tom Richardson, he's taken his daughter to the University of Kentucky, so he is out of pocket. So if you brought a check for the CART fund, and thank you guys for stepping up. We raised about $700 last week. Thank you for that. Did anybody see the 60 Minutes piece on Alzheimer's? That was pretty gripping and very timely. Okay, I think that is all of our announcements for this morning. I think it's time for Happy Dollars.
Happy Dollars!
Buster.
I'm talking about. Dale!
We've been visiting Dr. Anderson's office quite a bit the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to describe the first visit.
When you say we.
Noodles.
Oh, okay.
This is my 9-pound chin. Not breakfast talk. First time we go, she needed a bath, she had the medication, and a week later she got this cough that sounded like a Doberman. So we had to get medication for that, something called kennel cough. But thank you very much. Dr. Heather took care of her when you were out there. It was a Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays in a row. Thank you.
So, $1. This might be a record. So I was talking to Grandpappy, and he said, you know, I may not be good looking, and I may not be smart, I may not be athletic or funny, I forgot where I was going with this, but I do know I like bacon.
Well, I can't believe we missed this, that no one brought it up. This is National Joke Day. Buster,
Well, I have to tell you, I will do it.
That's a bad joke.
And I will tell you this because Dale, he told me this, but he said, Grandpappy said that he was so poor growing up.
How poor was
He was so poor that his mother had to read him the recipes on the box. He said his younger brother was hard of hearing and he almost starved to death. Did I not tell that right?
In lieu of food, she read the recipe.
In lieu of food.
You find the cat in the desert.
And he also told me he was so poor that he didn't have clothes till he was 12 years old. And when he was 12, he got a hat so he could look out the window.
Those are the 3 worst jokes in a row I've ever heard.
All right, guys, I'm not here to tell a joke. I am very honored to have Lucy Wellmaker as our presenter today. She's a very close friend of our families. Our sons are actually in college, their second year roommates together, and they started in first grade. So they've been close to them for a long time. She's got a daughter finishing up UNCW. A husband, she didn't mention this in her bio, so I'm having to tell her about her family. So, Wes Wellmaker is a good friend of mine, and her husband. They're just good friends of our family, so I'm very happy to have her today. Lucy is a published author of her new book, Inspired by the Wow Moments of Life. She is a board-certified coach and has been practicing as a life coach for over 14 years. She writes a weekly blog in the Greensboro News and Record called My Weekly Wow. No, is it bi-weekly? It is a weekly blog. It's a lot of W's there. And my wife and mother-in-law both just are anxious to read it every time it's in the paper. So that's in the Greensboro News and Record. She conducts laser life coaching through her talks and presentations. Lucy is presently employed with as a full-time human resources manager at Machine Specialist. And a lot of you remember Machine Specialties. Actually, they participate in bringing kids coming out of high school that are kind of looking for direction. So we're proud to be supportive of them and involved with them. She's also, in her very first month, she was named as Employee of the Month, her very first month. So it tells you a lot about Lucy. She's awesome, and we love her to death. So please give her a Gate City welcome. And Chris is calling me on the phone about it. Because he knows I can't read it if he's calling.
Thank you, Ralph, very much. Thank you all for having me here today. It's an honor and a privilege to speak here. And with the book entitled Inspired by the Wow Moments of Life, my hope for you today is that you'll walk out of here with a little bit of inspiration, whatever that means for you. Maybe you'll have a new thought or an old thought that bubbles up for you, or an idea, a realization, or what I call a wow moment. So I invite you to be open to receiving that inspiration so that you can walk out of here that way. And speaking of walking out of here, Ralph Jones warned me that if I didn't end on time, people would walk out of here. So I'm going to be very mindful of the time. And with that, I'd like to share from the book, Lesson 1, which is called, Where Are You? No one knows the hour he will come. It's true. I was told that the repairman would arrive between 8 a.m. and 12 noon. I was hoping to be the first stop so that I could get on about my business. Anxiously awaiting my turn, I found myself literally walking in circles. The more time passed, the more I thought about where I needed to be. I felt myself getting more and more uptight. Knowing that this is not a healthy frame of mind, I made the decision to accept the situation. As I did, I could feel the stress melt away. Wow. Be where you are. Be at peace. This comes from the first chapter called Lessons on Being Present, and I consider that the ultimate gift. We all have many things to do, many places to be, but when we let our mind race to the next thing, we cause undue stress. So this is a time just to be where you are and to be present. Does that make sense? Can you feel a little more relaxed? I have another lesson in here about presents and gifts. This one's called, well, it's lesson 7. It's called a surprise gift. A package, my husband explained, will soon be arriving in the mail. Eagerly anticipating that he was creatively keeping my Christmas gift a surprise, I listened intently, grinning from ear to ear. When it arrives, he said, just wrap it up and give it to me for Christmas. My smile faded. A few things went through my mind, and a couple of things came out of my mouth. Then I remembered the intention I set to keep Christmas simple. My husband had picked out, ordered, and purchased his own gift. How much simpler could it get? Wow. Sometimes life delivers our intentions packaged in ways we would never expect. After every lesson in the book, there are a few questions to ponder, and then there's a journal page. And the idea behind the book is that as I share my wow moments, the reader will think of their own wow moments. So the questions that follow this lesson are, what unexpected thing has shown up in your life recently? In what ways could this possibly be a result of an intention you set for yourself? So I want to take just a few minutes and give you the opportunity to answer those questions with somebody sitting next to you. This gives you the opportunity to be that ultimate gift, to be truly present with the person you're speaking to and listen. If you don't have an answer, you can pass. But think about it. What unexpected thing has shown up in your life recently? Secondly, in what ways could that possibly be a result of an intention you set for yourself? You may begin.
I don't know what I did. That's what I thought of. I don't know what I got for that. How did I do that? Maybe the positive is maybe I need her help. How about you? Anything come to mind?
Alter ego would be wrapped up in that as things your head is doing, to kind of get behind it. It's really, really good. But the second thing I'll tell you about the power of family is he's got a lot of things. He's of German descent. He's a very, very good speaker. He's real the opposite of me. And just the amazing thing about it, it's like there is no past. That's in your mind. There's no future. And in your mind, when it gets here, it's now. So that's really the power of now. There is nothing but that's all you got. Live in the now.
I wonder if she's ready. It's not really a surprise. It's one of those bedtime conversations. What are you doing tomorrow? Well, I'm Rotary, and I have a meeting at 11, and I've got something at 12:30. How about you? She said, well, Mom's coming tomorrow. How does that affect you? Well, I mean, we're gonna have dinner. She'll be here in the afternoon. I guess the wow moment is, I should have said, tell me what you're doing before I just must get straight. I love her mother-in-law. She's the one who say, Mark, you look great. You haven't put on nearly as much weight as I thought you would. It's supposed to make you feel good. You know, for your age, you don't have that many wrinkles. You got such a way to work. My kids were 3 daughters. When they were in high school. We would always go to my mother-in-law for Thanksgiving. She's very vocal about weight, especially the girls. She'll say, well, thanks, you know, with a smile, she'll say, hey, have you gained a few pounds? So we were all getting ready one morning. We knew we were leaving at 10 a.m. So, and the girls are all in their separate rooms, and Kim and I are in the back getting ready. It's Angie in the morning getting ready to go get in the car. Nobody's really paying attention. We're all in the 40s. I'm in the 40s. Say, okay, 5-minute time check. Everybody get in here. All the girls came in. I'm standing there. All 4 of us are all dressed in black. Standing top. All 4 of us are dressed in white. My wife comes down the hall. My wife comes down the hall and she says, we're not going to a damn funeral. Why is everybody dressed like that? The girl said, Anna always says something about my weight. I said, let's go with it. Maybe it'll be a sign for her. That's pretty cool.
Where you're from?
No. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. Michael, Kentucky. I've been here since '87. My wife's from Sanford. She was born in Denver.
Has everyone had enough time to share? Is everybody still talking about the questions?
Youngest one, and oldest one.
Are you still here?
They're all close. The grandkids are here.
So, did anybody hear or say something you feel like the whole group needs to hear? Any wow moments from that dialogue?
I think Ralph did.
Yes, we're looking at downsizing in our home, and some of the things that we've, with our children, the way they're someone's going to a private school this year, and then just how things have been in motion that we've put in motion have kind of caused something that we've been thinking about for a while to actually happen.
Wow.
So it's kind of relates.
Yes.
And a Roadrunner is real. End of the conversation.
What about the tax?
There's no doubt.
Anyone else? Well, I hope that Club was helpful. I always talk about, we have to look deeper, in our lives to find the real meaning that what's intended for us to learn. And intentions are very powerful. And you can tell the result, you can tell what your intentions are by how your life is unfolding. So when you want your life to unfold in a certain way, you have to be more mindful about the intentions you set and be open to how they show up. I know the Rotary Club is a service-oriented organization. I know that one of your mottos is service before self. I work at a company, and our philosophy is company first, the guy next to you second, and then yourself third. I've done presentations in churches where I've heard people say joy, J-O-Y, Jesus, then others, then yourself. And I get all of that. And what I'd like to say, and what I know for sure, is that you cannot give what you do not have. And so there's a section in my book about self-care. We cannot be a servant to others unless we've first taken care of ourselves. If I'm going to be a good employee, and I got that award after 1 year at Machine Specialties, that's all right. But yeah, if we're going to be a good employee, or a good mother, or a good father, or a good co-worker, manager, volunteer, we must first take care of ourselves. And so the section in the book regarding this is called Lessons on Self-Care. And it says, fill your own cup. I think there's often confusion between self-care and selfish. And the way I see it is that if we don't take care of ourselves, who's left to do it? Who around us is suffering if we don't take care of ourselves? To me, that's more selfish. And it's a fine line, and I totally get the intention behind putting others first. But I think it's important to remember that we have to care for ourselves. So a lesson from this chapter, number 16, it's called Avoid Burnout. One of my favorite things to do when the temperature gets cold is to sit by a fire. I love to just gaze into the flames and let my mind wander. While doing so, I thought about how something so warm and comforting can also be so dangerous and destructive. For me, it was a wonderful reminder of how too much of a good thing is not necessarily a good thing. Wow. Everything in moderation so you don't get burned. I've had some unexpected surprises with this book and how, things that have happened. One thing that happened was at work. We have an amazing program at work called CORE, and that's where once a month people come off the shop floor and we have personal and professional development. And it's a place where people check in, what's going well at work, what's not so well, what's going well outside of work, what's not so well. And then we also have an educational piece. And the gentleman that's on the HR team, he facilitates those sessions. And we've talked a lot at work about mindset. And we've had training on Carol Dweck's fixed and growth mindset. Many of you may be familiar with that. But just as a quick review, a fixed mindset is people with a fixed mindset typically avoid challenges. They get very defensive. They see efforts as useless. They ignore negative feedback. And they feel threatened by the success of others. Growth mindset, which is on the other end of the continuum, people with that, they embrace challenges. They persist in the face of setbacks. They see efforts as a path to mastery. They learn from criticism, and they find lessons and inspiration in the success of others. So we all typically have some of each, and the idea is to go more towards the growth mindset. So when we were having a course session, the gentleman said, I got a book and I want to read from it. And I looked up and he had my book in his hand. I didn't even know he had bought the book. He knew about the book. And he didn't say where he got it, but he just read this one. It's lesson 12. And it's called Imagine This. Mom, my son said to me, imagine that you are in a room with no exit. Now, he continued, how would you get out? I thought as I began to contemplate my answer. After offering several solutions, I still couldn't come up with the right answer. I finally gave up and asked, so, how would I get out? My son simply said, stop imagining. Wow, what a simple solution to a stressful situation. So much of our stress happens in our mind. We make up stories, we tell ourselves things that aren't even true. And so when we can change our thoughts and stop imagining those things that aren't even true. I used to work with women who are looking for work. And if you've ever looked for work, it could be a very stressful situation. They'd send their resumes out, never hear back, and then they'd start making up stories. I'm not good enough. My resume wasn't right. They don't like me. I'll never find work. And I said, you don't know that to be true. And now that I'm on the other end and I'm looking at resumes and I know what's true on the other end, I tell them, if you're going to make up a story, make up one that makes you feel good. Say, they took one look at my resume and they knew I was too good for that job. There's something better on its way. My resume never got to them. They overlooked it, whatever. We need to imagine positive things to see positive results. The last thing I'll share with you, and I know, Ralph, it was hard doing my introduction because you were getting phone calls, but so I write a weekly wow, and that happens. A weekly wow means every week, and it's a blog, and you can sign up for that from my website, which is lucywellmaker.com, and yes, Wellmaker is my real last name. Then I do a monthly article for the Greensboro News and Record, and I don't know how many of you still get the paper, but I brought one so you could see what it looks like. So this was I'm going to read an excerpt from my article in last month's paper. It's called Can You Believe It? Wow, I had my first book signing last month and over 100 people showed up to celebrate with me. I was very thrilled and am very grateful. I began my presentation by sharing some wow moments that led up to that night and a few moments from my book as well. When I opened it up for questions, I was asked one that I have been pondering ever since. What, he asked, was the hardest part of writing your book? I remember saying that the actual writing part wasn't the hardest. Then I followed up with a few other things about how things unfolded for me. Now, having had time to think about it, I can honestly say that the hardest part was in believing. Believing in myself, believing that I was worthy, believing that it was good enough, and believing in the process. At a certain point, our outcomes have less to do with our abilities and resources and more to do with what we believe. We have to believe it to see it. When we don't really believe something can be true, we will find ways to sabotage our efforts and prove ourselves right. It may show up as roadblocks and setbacks. We may feel pulled in different directions, or we may simply get in our own way. When we really believe in something, however, we will push through, persevere, and overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable. When our belief wavers, our progress does too. This can explain the reason we begin a project or plan, set it aside, and then return to it only to set it aside again. This is the process I use to write my book. The good news is that this is okay. It's all about the journey. Thank you for your time and attention. There's 4 minutes left.
There are